everyone. Welcome to Career Pathways with Adeola Kagho. This podcast is aimed at providing career clarity to entry and mid level professionals. It was born out of a desire to really demystify success, especially career success. And we aim to do that through sharing stories of accomplished individuals who have had very incredible career journeys. And we all know that no career really comes with a map. But when we hear the stories of other people, we then begin to see what is possible. And that has a positive impact on our own careers. Yeah, this is our very first episode, and I'm excited, very much excited to be hosting this podcast. And what makes it most exciting is the fact that today's guest is Dr. Peter Bamkole. Dr. Peter is a family member of mine, and he's fondly called Uncle T. And I will be addressing him as Uncle T throughout the recording today. Uncle T, welcome, and thank you so much. It is my honor to have you on the show.
Hello, Diola, and congratulations. This is really
Thank you. Thank you so much. Okay, so just before we get into it, Uncle T, this for me is like a full circle moment. I mean, I remember my early career days, very early in my career. I lived with you and your family. And I had a glimpse of your work ethics, the late nights, early mornings, and just generally how you really, really seriously took your career. And that has had a way of shaping my own career as well. And so it's really full circle for me to, after 20 something years, now be interviewing you around the subject of careers.
Yeah, thanks. One thing, and it's my mantra: whatever you do it very well. Again, you can find it in the Bible if you understand that it's in Colossians 3. And so when you do it well, it will speak for itself and it will give you fulfillment. So that's my mantra.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Okay, so I'm just going to get very quickly into reading your profile so that everyone knows the caliber of person that we have on the show today. Dr. Peter Bankole is the Deputy Vice Chancellor Admin at Pan Atlantic University and Board of Trustee Chair for Global Entrepreneurship Network Nigeria. He previously served as the Chief Operating Officer and pioneered the Enterprise Development Center of the Pan Atlantic University in January 2003, and that is now one of the top enterprise development centers in Africa. He's trained as a mechanical engineer in the UK with MBA from IASC Business School in Spain. He's an alumnus of Lagos Business School Chief Executive Program. His over 4 decades experience spans both public and private sector, oil industry, water supply, education. He obtained his PhD in entrepreneurship and innovation at the International School of Management in Paris and consult widely in sub-Saharan Africa on entrepreneurship development and practice. Peter is a fellow of the Corporate Governance Society of Nigeria and a member of Chartered Institute of Directors. He currently chairs the Board of Education Collaborative West Africa Hub, Nigeria Climate Innovation Center, International Breweries Foundation, and Global Entrepreneurship Network Nigeria. He's an independent non-executive director of Zenith Bank, member of IIT Governing Council and Lagos State Research and Innovation Council, among others. His current book, Built by Enterprise, is the culmination of 2 decades of developing entrepreneurs in Nigeria. That's such a rich profile, Uncle T. You've done extremely well in your career. And I'm so glad to have you on board today. Okay, so let's get to the very beginning. You studied mechanical engineering. What influenced this decision? How did you make that decision to study engineering?
If I tell you I have a real reason, I'll probably be deceiving you. In my time, we had very few options. You either become an engineer, medical doctor, a lawyer, fairly straightforward. Maybe because my dad was a telephone engineer, I just decided, why not? Let me just do engineering. But how I arrived at mechanical, I honestly cannot tell you. But once I chose mechanical engineering, and this was sometimes in my secondary school, so I made sure that I did all the right subject combination to be able to achieve that. So physics, chemistry, maths, it was a choice for us then. And yeah, I had many opportunities of going into the university. At age 16, I was offered mechanical engineering in Ilorin. My uncle didn't allow me to go. He said I was too young, so I didn't take that offer. Then I went to do my A levels, and then in my lower sixth, I tried again, and I was admitted into University of Nigeria, Nsukka. I went again, spent about a couple of weeks there. I just didn't like everything. I was too far from home, so maybe I just wanted to come back home. So I came back, and at 18, I tried again, and it was at Unilag. Again, it was mechanical engineering.
Wow.
I actually matriculated in Unilag, but a few months down the road, my scholarship came through by British Petroleum, and I went to the UK again for mechanical engineering. My attitude was that I don't know, I was just focused on mechanical engineering, and I just wanted to do whatever it took me to study mechanical engineering. So for me, it was focus. And then I'd seen a few people that had flexibility being engineers, especially mechanical. So I just decided to pursue that career.
So it means there were a few people that sort of helped shape that decision. I mean, there were people that you had looked at who you had noticed that flexibility. Perhaps even your father, what he was doing also did have an influence. And if I also look at how people made decisions back in the day, it was basically a few courses. It was either you were doing medicine, engineering, law, or accounting. Yeah. So okay. So that's understandable.
It's very likely if your father is a medical practitioner, you will end up, or one of the children will end up in that line. If your father was a lawyer, it's very likely one of you or two, maybe three will end up along that line. So we weren't thinking of going outside the traditional choices, in quote, unlike now, where even some of the parents don't even understand what they are doing these days. So
Yeah.
but that's what it is. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So the world of work has completely changed now. People are doing different things, which is almost a total contrast to what happened in the past in your time. And knowing what you know now about career choices and how your own career has also developed, if you had to make that choice again, would you still choose mechanical engineering? And if so, what?
I probably will still choose without a doubt, because for me, engineering generally, but more specifically mechanical, gave me two or three different things in my foundational pathway. The first one is around logic. You
The
cannot be
first
a
one is
mechanic.
around, sorry.
Logic.
Okay, logic. Okay.
You cannot be a mechanical engineer without being very logical in your way of thinking. And so, reflecting on it now, even at management level, at all those, you need to have a logical reasoning skill set. I got that from mechanical engineering. The second one is around
Right.
problem solving.
Mm,
Again, the engineering mindset is that there is a problem, I can resolve it. And so that you need it in almost any type of business that you require today. And of course, critical thinking,
mm,
all of these combination, you will get them in mechanical engineering.
engineering.
Forget about the pressure vessel. Forget about all these other things that are more specific and more technical. But the reality is that that foundation is so key to flexing out in different directions. I probably might have chosen a different layer on top of it. For
Yeah.
instance, if now I probably will do more around AI compared to what we did in my time. I probably will do more around coding, like we did, differently from what we did in my time. But essentially, that core will still remain mechanical engineering.
And I mean, if I look at the things or the competencies you said that have come out of studying mechanical engineering, the logic, the problem solving, critical thinking, those are still really relevant skills in today's world of work. So It's suffice to say that mechanical engineering provided that solid foundation that is even helping you to thrive today, because those are the skills that are needed for the world of work today.
Absolutely, absolutely, without a doubt.
Yeah, you had mentioned that you studied in the UK at Greenwich University, and that leads me to the question around international education slash international exposure. What I find with a lot of professionals or people who are trying to make decisions around their early career is that there's a strong belief, especially in Nigeria, that it is important to have international exposure. So if you look at your own trajectory, would you say that this exposure that you had, especially at that point in time, enriched your career in any way?
Without a doubt, at that time, yes, because the way the methodology was completely different. I mean, we were hard learners. And what I mean by hard learners is that things that people run away from, that's where we want to be. I recall when we got into the university, when we were doing calculus in 3 dimensions, we were there. Everybody was running away. But that was what we did throughout the whole weekend. And we were
So
doing
you were
algebra.
part of the FICOs.
No, no, I mean, we enjoyed it. It was not a big deal. It is where people run away from. That's where we start.
Yeah, you were
And
part of the bookworms.
well, we enjoyed much more than the book, but we don't run away from the book. However, when it came to critical thinking, thinking differently and all of that, that wasn't how we were structured. And so when we were doing design thinking and all of that, oh my God, we just fell flat out. So those were the things that we were open up to. But nowadays, they are doing more of that in Nigeria today. In most of the institutions, you will see that they're already doing that. In fact, in my institution today, 40% of learning is experiential. And so what you learn in class, you see it applied in reality and vice versa. So that way, it's kind of different. And that was how we learned when I was in school. For instance, in my engineering, I did what they call a sandwich program, a sandwich. So throughout my 4 year period, the first 6 months of every year, I'm on campus, fully work and all of that. Then the next 6 months, July to December, we're in the industry. And I did that for 4 years. So by the time we came out, we not only knew about engineering, we had practiced engineering.
Practiced.
So I had like 2 years of experience by the time I was finishing my undergrad. So that was the difference. When I started at Unilag, I recall that some of my friends that were studying computer engineering, you have to do your code and somebody will go and punch it for you. But when I got to the UK, everybody had access to computers. You just go in, use it. It was not a big deal. But back then at home, it was a big deal. So these are the kinds of things that exposes you, that people think that there's an advantage going abroad. But today, to be quite honest with you, we have really, really narrowed that gap. The only thing I will advise is that maybe at master's level, people should still go abroad because it gives you a different worldview. You will see different cultures, people will do things differently, and you will be able to learn just like you will also help others to learn from you. So that for me, it's good, but it's not compulsory at the first degree level anymore for me. We do have very serious institutions that can walk you through. But going abroad is
Yeah.
always good at some point, yes.
So in your view, basically right now in Nigeria, it's not the same as before. We can get that experiential learning in Nigeria now, but all the same for, shaping one's perspective, interacting with other cultures, it's still a good thing to perhaps at master's level then go abroad. Thank you so much for that. There's one question that, it's always been a debate. It's still a debate today, and it's about Ivy League schools. And I really want you to lend your voice to that. A lot of professionals believe that if they haven't attended an Ivy League or a globally elite school, then uh, they might not be able to make a lot of progress in terms of their career. I mean, what's your view on that?
It's a tough question, but I have to be practical here. On the surface or in the first instance, I will say yes. If you have two people and one is gone to an Ivy League school and the other went to your ready run type of school, the chances are that you are going to give that first person the first chance. And what Ivy League school gives you is foot first in the building. That's what it gives you, foot first. And but after that foot first, you yourself must be good, because what employers are looking for is the person that can do the job. So beyond, there is an assumption that because you have gone to an Ivy League school, you must be good. That's it's an assumption. However, we have seen many people that have not gone to Ivy League school and they are damn good. And so employers today are beginning to rethink and say, just show me what you are made of first. And then if you are good, then I can look at your Ivy League certificate. For instance, yeah, if somebody has gone to 1, 2, 3 universities, Ivy League schools, I probably will give them a first chance. However, um, honestly speaking, it's what you can.
So,
Sorry,
in
Deola, are
other
you still able
words,
to hear
it
me?
could give you a foot. Yes, I can hear you. So, in other words, it could give you a foot in the door, but it doesn't necessarily keep you there.
100%. Yeah.
All right. Okay, so we're getting now into your early career. I recall that you started in the oil and gas industry, and at that time, even up until date, that was regarded as a very prestigious sector. But you then made a rare move. You moved into public sector. I'm very curious to know what drove that decision. What exactly were you seeking at that point in time?
Okay, so first of all, I was my scholarship was given by British Petroleum, African Petroleum. So naturally, in fact, I was a staff by the time we were being sent abroad for the 4 years. So I came back again as a staff just to continue. And there were many before us. So we have a line of, I don't know, engineers that were trained abroad within the company. And so you had a chart, you had a pathway. They know you are going to be this, you are going to be that, you are going to be that, because they have invested so much in you. And everybody in the organization just look at you as the anointed ones. And, we're very privileged, and it was good. But I did that even when I was doing my youth service. I was not regarded as a copper. I was regarded as a full-time staff. So I was traveling to the north. I was covering the north, by the way. And so I did all of this for a couple of years after I came back. And eventually I transited into a newer company, Elf Oil, which is now Total, which again, I continued doing my engineering work. However, after or close to maybe 8, 9 years, my uncle was the one that actually convinced me that I needed to work in the public service. And honestly speaking, I thought it was something that didn't make sense. One, the financially, it didn't make sense. Secondly, I was asking myself, why should I move from oil to water? I mean, they don't even mix in real world. So why should I go there? However, it sat me down and explained something that maybe later on I started understanding it. And it's what they call purpose. Beyond what you are able to earn, beyond, certain resources and all of that, you begin to leave footprints that are difficult to wipe away, with the passage of time. And I think that was one thing that I learned, even though reluctantly, because I was very sure that For me, it wasn't a good move, to be quite honest with you. But
Yeah,
later on,
and that's
I
the
now
way that
said,
any professional right now
yeah,
would look at it.
yeah. So I said to myself, you know what? Supposing, and this was how he got me. He said, you are just in the oil industry. You only knew people in the oil industry, and that's all. And then at the end of the day, you may become engineering manager or something like that. But your scope will still be limited. But that in the public service, you will relate with many people beyond those in the oil industry. He also said that once you get out into the public service, you will be able to make your networking, your net worth will be much more than the financial net worth. And truly, I found that out to be very correct because later in life, there were things that I was able to do because I was in the public service and I knew people. It was different. Now, the flip side or the one that really got me was that, and I said to myself, once you leave this comfort zone, you're on your own. So how will you balance it? And that was when it was very clear to me that I needed to have a different of income. And my wife was just starting off around that time, her business. So I then fully supported the business. And interestingly, that was what helped us throughout that period. Because really, the financial resources from the public service was nothing to write home about. But I was making impact. But impact alone cannot, put food on your table. And so the way it was then balanced was that it took about a couple of years and then the business took off very well. So based on that, yes, I was okay from that point of view, but I was then also making those impacts that I wanted to make. And I did that for about 7 years. That really, really helped because it changed my mindset. It also says to me that once you are broken out, you better keep moving because
Yeah.
there is no nice fallback again. So on the flip side, it just accelerated that freedom of staying like the rest of my colleagues who stayed and retired in the oil industry. They built good houses, they did many nice things, but you know what? They were still very limited. But then,
Mm,
because I took that plunge and I knew it was not stable, and I knew that, any small this, I'm gone. It gave me that drive to continue to pursue. And maybe that was where I actually started my entrepreneurship pursuit. Because
yeah, right.
if you look at my career path, it's around, around that time. So it was blessing in disguise. Let's put it like that.
Yeah. So my takeaway is that it enriched your network. There was a downside, which was the financial, but somehow because your wife was starting a business at that time, and you also poured your energy in that, and so that was able to sustain your family. And what that tells me is that the concern that professionals have about making that kind of move is very valid. But then they have to weigh purpose, impact versus finance. And if there's a way to augment or supplement the income, then it'll be a very good move to make, because even now you are enjoying that network that you have built over time. All right. Okay. So what I also noticed from your journey is that leap or that move into the water corporation um, is the one that sort of helped you transition into general management. So you were working as an engineer in the past, but then you became, I think it was an assistant general manager. And usually a lot of professionals find it quite difficult to transition from being specialist to generalist. So from your journey, what do you think prepared you for that shift?
Okay, first of all, by the time I was leaving ELF, I was already lubricants, the national lubricants manager. So
Okay.
not top management, but mid-level management. So I had some experience around that, but it was still largely technical.
Yeah.
Now, I also recall that the people that I checked out in Cadbury's, in these that were all in my circle as engineers that were in the society of engineering. They were mostly, at best, they became maybe the engineering manager, which is like the top management position they can ever get to. It was very difficult for most of them to be the CEO, MD of different organizations unless they took a management course somehow, because the management course helped them to reappraise themselves and also position them to think more like a manager rather than an engineer. And there are many, many ways in which I have seen this even in my own career path. So when I got to Water Corporation, I said to myself, this is a good time to go to do my MBA, because the MBA will consolidate some of my management experiences, one, and put a certificate behind it. But I will also learn new things, new methods, all kinds of stuff. So I decided to go for that. It was a 2-year program. And for me, that probably was the best decision in my transition journey into management, because it sets a foundation for things that management require of anybody that is being admitted into that cadre. Most of us, because you are a good worker, they promote you out of competence. So you may be competent at what you do today, but if you are not prepared for the next step, then you are promoted out of competence. That's a big mistake. And as individuals, we must run away from it. And that's why we should prepare ourselves, irrespective of what our organization may or may not be doing. So if you think that you want to go on this path, please start to map out those things and prepare yourself. An MBA is always very good because it opens up your and so I did that in 1999, 2000, and that gave me again another foundation on top of what I had before. And from the first semester, people could see the difference, and that also motivated me. So if we are in a meeting, for instance, and people are giving their opinion and all kinds of, and then I give mine. The thing is that because I have done a lot of case studies, I can look at the same problem from multiple angles for you. And
Right.
because I started doing that, they started putting me in multiple committees because they felt I could add more value. And then from that, I started heading different committees. And so it's like giving you the opportunity to play. And the more you play, the better you become. But nobody's just going to give you a shirt in the Premier League just because it's you. No, you have to work hard to be able to get to that point. So that's how I used my MBA experience to prove that I am worthy of being part of a management team. And
Yeah.
at Water Corporation, the AGM is basically the head of department, and then we reported to the CEO there. So yes, at that stage, I was top management, and there were many important decisions that had to be taken. And luckily for me, I ran through about 3 different departments, which gave me a bigger view of the institution as well. And we introduced many new things. In fact, that was the period we did the automation of a public service. That was head in one direction, but it also gave me a lot of insights about transforming public sector. So when I then came back to the private sector, it was a piece of cake because we had gone through a lot of stuff at that stage.
Yeah. So you've already started speaking about an MBA. That was one of the questions that I was going to ask you. The importance of an MBA in careers. I mean, I notice a lot of people really believe that an MBA can sort of help accelerate their career success, and it looks like your story actually supports that argument.
Yeah, again, but not to think that you just do MBA for doing MBA sake. It doesn't also work like that. Between when I finished my first degree and when I did my MBA, I'm thinking it must be some 15 years or maybe more. And so I had a lot of practical experiences that I brought just a bear on the MBA. Of course, there are full-time MBAs. After 3 years, you can quickly go. But I saw more value because I was already an experienced engineer. And then I had a different objective. But if you are going to study MBA because you want to accelerate, it's a different mindset and it may not work out. The outcome might be completely different. So my attitude is that, practicalize what you have learned. In fact, some of my nephews, they said, look, should I do a master's in my technical field or should I go for an MBA? You see, there is no right or wrong answer. If I had done master's in mechanical engineering, I probably will be more tempted drilling down on engineering alone rather than going into general management. And that might have shifted my career a little bit. I don't know. But I found out that it was better to work after the first round of learning and then do my MBA. It just changes the way I think. That's all.
And what I'm hearing you say is that an MBA supports or could prepare one for a transition into general management. So for those who are thinking along the lines of general management, then an MBA would be good. And for those who want to focus on their technical expertise, then perhaps a master's in their technical area would then be good. All right, great. You
Also,
made
MBA
another
is different
pivot.
from MPA.
Yeah.
MBA is different from MPA. So just to say, you have to get
Tell
the
us a bit
right
about that.
MBA. Yes, I mean, I have seen a few of my contemporaries. And I'm not going to mention names of any university, and they've done MBAs, and when they speak, you wonder whether truly they have done MBA. So some people get the MBA just for the paper's sake. I recall that 10 years after I finished my MBA, I can't even recall collecting certificate because, you know, having dealt with more than 500 case studies, you could analyze anything on the run. And so people saw you,
Right.
people knew what you could do, and they just took you for that straight away. So, and it comes back to this same thing about Ivy League or no Ivy League. Honestly speaking, these days, you said you are a good computer scientist. Nobody's going to worry about you. They just give you a problem, solve it, write the code. And so long as you can write, everything goes well, boom, you're done. So you can't be showing me certificate. No, you have to demonstrate competence. And if you have done a proper MBA, that competence will show in the way you talk, in the way you analyze things, in the so many things. And so it's not about the paper. That's the point I'm talking.
Yeah, and I think another point that you're actually really trying to highlight is the fact that if you're getting an MBA, the quality matters. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you. So you made another pivot after spending some time at the Water Corporation. You then went to the Pan Atlantic University to start the Enterprise Development Center. I mean, that was a very rare pivot because that's like now going into academia. And I'm very curious, what inspired that move? And also from a preparation standpoint, what prepared you for it as well?
You know, you also have to know yourself. I'm
Mm,
somebody that cannot work for too long on a particular route. Let me put it like that. I happen to be those you may refer to as caterpillars. You know, caterpillars, they go
mm.
into the bush, they open the path, and then that's it. Then they clear the open, then there is road. But somebody must come from behind and start to lay the thing, put a coal tar on it and all of that. I can do a bit of that, but the real me is to clear that path. And so usually, if you look at my career in the first 10 years, I'm done. I move to somewhere else. 10 years, I'm done. I move to somewhere else. And it doesn't, because I'm also excited about pursuing new things, new purpose. And I also believe that there's nothing we can do as mechanical engineers. So I just need to just learn a few things and then I move. But moving into academia, especially the entrepreneurship side, was because while I was in water corporation, I assisted or I facilitated getting Faith Foundation into that space. So we had the five floor story building. They needed to lease some out. So I knew about that. I also knew Ndidi Noeli, who happens to be the director at that time. And so I facilitated that movement. And after we have done that, then she said, "Oh, can you be one of our mentors for the entrepreneurs and all of that?" And I'm like, "Yeah, okay, no problem. I mean, no big deal." So I started. And the first business plan competition that, happened, my mentee won. And everybody was
Wow.
shocked. Everybody was shocked because, number one, in quote, I was a public servant or prior. How can somebody working in water corporation and then teaching people how to do business plan? It didn't match. Of course, they've
Mm,
forgotten that I had a private sector experience. I've done many things. And I recall that Fola Adeola then was very, very curious when he came to present the award. Like, this doesn't match. But that was where I started providing advisory to small businesses and everything. And in that first 3 or so years, my mentee will either come first, second, or third, without a doubt. And so I knew that there were things that I was doing that was right. I don't know. Of course, naturally, I myself, I was an entrepreneur anyway. And don't forget that again, I had to mentor my wife in that business and all of that. So it was a natural thing to say, let me go
mm,
into entrepreneur. And so I approached the then Director General, Dean, and later the Vice Chancellor of the university, Professor Albert Alos. And we spoke about it many times until one day he then said to me, "Why don't you come and start this thing?" And I'm like, "I don't even know anything about entrepreneurship. I mean, not in a formal way
mm.
anyway." And so we wrote to he said, "Okay, why don't we do a study so that you can understand?" And we said, "Okay." So we started together. And then eventually one day he called me. He said, "Bank, the World Bank, they've approved that study. So you need to come on board." I was like, "Wait a minute. We are not fully ready for this kind of thing." The long story short, I came on board. I was only offered, you know, guaranteed 1 year salary, and that was it. After that, if it didn't work, I was going to move to something else. And I said, "Yeah, sure, it should work. Why not?" I was very confident. And I don't know, but I think that problem solving mindset, which mechanical engineering gave to me, I don't know, is possibly maybe that's why I just always feel that it can be done. It might be difficult. It can be done in a few iterations, but I always feel that it can be done. And so that up till tomorrow is what is always pursuing me all the time. Nothing is almost impossible. It will just be delayed. And so we started. And I recall that 6 months into starting EDC, the then Dean of Lagos Business School, Professor, well, he wasn't Dean, was assistant, Professor Ilegido, called me and he said, "You're a nice guy. If this doesn't work, we will absorb you, blah, blah, blah." And I was so happy when I left him. I said, "This man does not know what he has done. That he has actually given me fresh blood. That what does it mean that if it
Yeah.
doesn't work? In fact, you will come to me and you will tell me that I didn't know it's going to work like this." This was exactly what happened several years down the road. And I wrote that in the book because, when somebody tells you that it will not work, sorry, I will prove you wrong because it will work. It might be difficult. In fact, it will be difficult, but it just doubled my energy to be able to make it happen. And so, switching, one thing I can tell you from my own trajectory is that switching from one career to the other, they don't even have to be related, to be quite honest with you. So long as it is something
Mm,
that you love, you want to do, honestly speaking, you just go for it. I'm shocked at what you are doing today. This wasn't what you learned. this wasn't even yours. But all of a sudden, you will be shocked that this might be the thing that people will know you move for, rather than all the other many years that you have put into building a career. And so, career can be started at any time, can be rejuvenated at any time. It just depends on what you love, what gives you real joy and value. That's all.
Yeah. So I was actually going to ask you about self-doubt, the fears that you had, but you answered that already. It appears to me that you had some initial doubts, but the fact that there were people who thought that it will not be successful, I mean, that even energized you the more. So it appears that that's how you dealt with self-doubt. You needed to prove that it was going to work, and that made you double your effort.
That's on one part. The second part, and you cannot
Okay.
remove it, is the financial part. Of course, by this
Mm,
time, the business was already running very well, so I didn't have a problem when it comes to financial resources from that point of view. Once that is taken care of, you can be very creative. And so what I did
yeah.
was to set up that. And then my wife was very good at running business. In fact, she was more creative than me in code. But I came with structure. I came with things that
Mm,
will make the business go a little bit. I asked the difficult questions, around governance, around so many things like that. That sometimes it's like, what? You mean you don't trust me? It's not about trust. It's about governance in business. It's governance. That's it. You have to do things a particular way. Whether you are small, you are big or medium, it doesn't matter. And so we went through that process. And that really consolidated what I call the family finances. So I didn't have to worry about that. So I focused on doing good. I focused on creating legacy. I focused on doing things that I enjoyed, that I feel that will make a difference in life.
yeah.
And that's it. And once you just do that, everything is possible.
Absolutely. So I noticed you spent 20 years or thereabout at the EDC. In today's world, that's a long time, a very long time. The world of nowadays, the young ones, they value change a lot. So what made you stay? What made you stay, and what does that say about the value of staying power? Perhaps you have something to say to the entry and mid-level career professionals with respect to staying power.
Okay, so like I said to you, within 10 years, I must leave and go to somewhere else. And I gave myself, in fact, I recall when I was speaking with Professor Legido, he said, once you can give us 5 years, we are good. I said, no problem. I can still do up to 10 years. That's my limit usually. But in entrepreneurship, the problems are different every day. So, you know, I said something about being like a caterpillar. There are no pathways, so you
Yeah.
are the one creating it. Now, entrepreneurship gives you that same purpose. That every entrepreneur that is walking into the room is coming with a completely different problem. It may look similar to somebody else's own, but they are different. So that was like every day, every morning is a new company. And so before you could blink, a lot of things were happening. And, which I documented it in my book, there were different milestones. There was the building phase. And so the building phase was to establish the proof of concept that this can stand as an institution. Nobody even knew that we could be self-sufficient. But within 5 years, we were able to prove that not only were we self-sufficient, we were already contributing also to the university as a whole. And we became like the kid on the block, something like that. And by the next phase, we started internationalizing what we were doing. So IFC was taking us to different parts of Africa. They were trying to replicate our model. We were with Goldman Sachs, going to, Clinton Global Initiative, going to all kinds of places. So that 10 years just went boom like this because there were many things happening on a month by month basis. And we were on panels across the world. How can this be coming from Africa, from Nigeria? It was just new. It was refreshing. And, I met several people at that point, who later came back to Nigeria, and then we started working with them again at the government level. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, for instance, was very shocked when she met us in London, as the first institution to start the Goldman Sachs 10,000 Women Project. They're coming from Nigeria. Wow, she was so excited when she came as the guest speaker there. So we had a backroom talk. She was very excited. She was very happy. And then that went. Then Aganga, who was also with Goldman Sachs, later became a minister. And the first person he called, and I don't know how he got my number, was me. And he said, what you guys did with Goldman Sachs while I was there, I want us to do it in Nigeria. And some people called me and said when he was doing his public hearing, that he mentioned that, oh, there's an institution that did this and that he wants to work with them. This was how we started. I never wanted to work at that level with the government, but we ended up doing that because these were people that understood our values. They came from the private sector as well, so we had similar values and standards and everything, and we worked well. First with Aganga, and then next with Okonjo-Iweala, who was also at that time the coordinating minister. It was under that her time that we did UWIN, and up till today, if you Google it, you will see it. It's one of the best efforts that they have seen across the continent of Africa. It was very neutral. Once your business plan was good, we didn't even know who you were. We were doing things purely on merit most of the time, and of course, giving consideration to geographical spread. The World Bank came and they wrote a fantastic piece on it. It's on the web. You can search for it. And so all of those things, every year something new will happen. Every year something new will happen. So before you knew it, 5 years became 10 years. 10 years became 15 years. 15 years became 20 years. I'm like, okay, let's stop. But talk about staying power. The truth was that I took an average of my staff by the time I was leaving, average was about 14, 15 years of being there. So people enjoyed what they were doing. In fact, there was even one youth copper that came while I was there. And then I said, are you still here? What's happening? She has spent 8 years or 9 years. By this year or next year, it's going to be 10 years. And this is somebody that I never imagined that she will spend even 1 year with us. And so
Wow.
maybe it's much more than just work, which I believe. We work hard, we play hard, we do a lot of things very well. There are many things that we introduce into the organization. We bring the families together. Every month, we're always celebrating something or the other. If it's International Women's Day, we will do Men's Day, we will do children, we'll do all kind. On Children's Day, we bring all the children in the entire family. We go and watch a movie, for instance, things that makes organizations to be different. And so people enjoy that. Valentine's Day, we buy gifts for each other. So even if you don't celebrate it at home, you will celebrate it with us. And when people do things that you get married and all of that, sorry, we take over. I mean, we have entrepreneurs in our system, event planners, the caterer. We set up everything in less than 5 days. We're done. So, in fact, I wrote a chapter on that in the book as well. And that made us the EDC family. And so when you want to leave, it's kind of very difficult. And those that have left, they continue to be part of the family. So if we're doing something, they invite them as, the diaspora family members, and they come back and, it's all. So because of that, many people have stayed minimum 10 years, minimum.
Wow.
And I also find out that people go or they change career for two, maybe three reasons. One, they believe that hop, step, and jump is the best way to move. And this is usually very true of finance people or bankers. You move from here, you get the next grade. You move from here, you get the next grade. But my very first staff, who was my research assistant, today is a management staff and is the second in command at EDC. So there you go. It's not, if you stay in a place, and they see value, they will promote you and you will make the best out of your career.
So they say time flies when you are having fun. So you had a lot of fun. There was a lot of innovation. And on top of that, there was a lot of engagement, which appears to me to even be very deliberate. So it was meaningful work. And 20 years just flew by. Hopefully, organizations will learn that to retain people, you need to really focus on engagement and things that make work very meaningful for people. So thank you for sharing that. In 2022, then bagged a PhD in innovation and entrepreneurship. Was this important for your role at the time, or what made you take that step at that point in your career? Because I don't think
Well,
that you needed it for a foot
no,
in the door.
no, I didn't. But you cannot be in an academic environment and not have a PhD. I mean, it just shows that you are a master, in what you are doing, because that is like an expert in that field. And so most of the things that I was doing, I knew I was already, an expert. We've done it locally, internationally, everywhere. And so for me, I just said, you know what? Just do it. It doesn't make any difference because you have already reached the goals that you have set for yourself. But this could be
Yeah.
something that you can also prove to yourself that you are an expert in it and it's documented. That's how we started. But I must also say that my boss then, every year he will call me, that's the VC, and said, "Oh, Banky, I'm happy you are doing the PhD. How is it going?" And I said to myself, if only he knew that it's not a priority for me. I'm just doing it just for. But that also, I'm like, okay, let me just do it for him and let's move on. But each time I had to balance things. There was the first time I said to myself, between getting a PhD and getting EDC to the pinnacle, which one is better? I just dropped the PhD, we just keep moving. But once I set my mind at doing those things, again, it's about goal setting for me. I just focus on it and I just do it. And we still talk about it today. Took every day, I didn't take leave of absence. I was still working full time, driving the institution seriously. But I had to wake up every day 4 a.m. and I had
Wow.
to study for 2 hours to for 6 o'clock. Then I start getting ready to go to work. And then when I come back, I have to do another 1 hour in the evening. So 3 hours every day. In 5 days, that is 15 hours. And then on weekends, I do 10 hours. So 25 hours every week for the 4 years. That's what it took. And it has to be consistent. Even when we are on holiday, everybody knew, sorry. There are sometimes I just come back and say, guys, you have 10 minutes today. And then we'll sort everything out in 10 minutes. It was tough, but again, it was possible. And once I showed my colleagues that it was possible, I made sure that everybody that worked with me earned their doctorate, every one of them.
Wow.
So and we paid for it. We paid for it. Everybody on the management team today, they had their doctorate. Even some that are not. I encourage them. Those that work directly with me on research and everything, they've also earned their doctorate as well. So all of a sudden, I just told them it's possible. Let's just do it. It doesn't change the fact that you are doing what you are doing. But all of a sudden, people start to also look at you differently, and that's it.
Right.
But a doctorate is very good because it shows that you are committed fully to that sector that you're operating and that you have the kind of depth that people are looking for.
So do you think that it
And
gives
people
a
enjoy.
professional edge even outside of academia?
Oh yes, oh yes. Both professional and non-professional. And I think even the non-professional one is the one that people tend to enjoy most. The gate man is happy calling you doc. The person on the street, your friend that used to call you by your first name, will prefer to call you doc or prof or something. So I say to people,
Just like
they
I'm
are the real
enjoying
beneficiaries.
calling you Dr. Bamkole.
Yeah, exactly. They are the ones that enjoy it more than you. So I did it for them. It's fine. It doesn't change anything. But sometimes people are just also happy that they knew somebody that has reached a particular level in academic life. That's all.
Yeah. So, in terms of your trajectory, you've served on a lot of boards. In fact, you are an independent non executive director in one of the leading banks in Nigeria. And my question in that regard is, when do you think that professionals should start thinking about board roles? And what does it really mean to be board ready?
So I mean, I'm mentoring quite a few people around this now. And my attitude is, first of all, never to think about the financial implications of being on the board. It's always to think first of what value do I bring. And I tell people,
So, when you say
start
financial
from
implication, you're talking about the reward?
what exactly. So start
Okay, all right.
by looking at boards where you can add real value first. So I did a lot of work with nonprofits because that was my field anyway. I did a lot of work with small businesses that were growing and turning into mid-size. So help them from strategic point of view. And most of those things were on pro bono basis. Most. There were even some foundations that I worked for. Honestly speaking, there was no real financial reward, honestly, but it exposed me to many things. And based on those exposure, one was then able to increase your network and it turned around in full cycle, and that helps the business you are also running. It still comes round one way or the other. And whilst you are doing this, I mean, I did something around Africa. Ordinarily, I will not be doing work around Africa. But because I was with this foundation, it took me to Ghana, to Rwanda, to everywhere without being paid, honestly. But of course, they will take care of all your, logistics and everything. And I was very happy to do it because I was learning. I was learning. And then I could say that I am an expert across the continent just because of that. And so there are many things that we must do without thinking of the financial gain. But later on, that helps us to become experts in those things, and that will bring financial rewards later. It's just like in most entrepreneurial pursuits. Chase value first, and every other thing will come after. But yes, there are
So,
ways in which
do
you
you,
can prepare yourself. Yeah, I mean, I joined
no,
the
go on.
Society for Corporate Governance. I joined the Society for Corporate Governance of Nigeria. I'm a fellow there now. I joined the Chartered Institute of Directors. Even as a young professional, you can join the youth wing. One of my niece just moved from being the youth to the main one now. And then I'm encouraging her to be on, you know, boards of small non-profits to start with. And then that will give you that leverage to understand, the way board works, how things are done, how do you want to position yourself? If, for instance, you love things around environment, then you could be that voice on the board. If you love things around governance, you could be that voice so you create your own niche on the board and it will be consistent and people will see it across. If it's technology, for instance, you create that and you say, let me focus. And more now, whether you are small, big, medium, everybody's going tech. And so if you're a tech person, if you are female, if you are young, you have a very bright chance of being on, it's part of the future. And so just do it. And just like you plan for your career, it's also good to plan for that because it helps to broaden your horizon. It helps you to see things maybe differently at the board level. So that when you are also practicing as at a management level, you can see what is required and all of that. It's good.
Yeah. So it appears to me that there's some depths that board service exposes you to or some things that board service expose you to that just being in operational roles throughout your career may not offer. And that's why it will be good to pursue board roles as well. Great. Okay, so I'm getting into reward. You've stayed the course in corporate. You've been in corporate for about 4 decades now, if I'm not wrong. Yeah. So my question is, can staying the course be truly rewarding financially? What has your own experience been? Has it paid off?
Of course, whatever you do, if you do it well, it will always be rewarding. If you are a cleaner, if you clean very well, you'll be shocked that you'll probably be better than a director that doesn't direct well. That's it. For me, it has been absolutely rewarding, not just financially, but intellectually, fulfillment. I wake up and I say to myself, at least I can see some of those footprints myself. I go
Yeah.
around across the world and I see people who says, "Oh, I was at EDC at this point, and this was how it has impacted them." My wife tells me a story each time. My EDC backpack, I gave it to her. And anytime she carries it, this is even in the UK, and then she says she always will see somebody that will stop her and say, "Are you one of us? Who are you?" Say EDC people say, "Okay, yes, we are one of you." And for me, it shows how well we have been able to spread.
Yeah.
This week, we're in Indianapolis. One of my colleagues is going to Washington, and they are bringing together all the EDC people in Washington together. I mean, there is virtually no place you go today that you don't see our alumni doing great things. And so we just go there, we encourage them, and we'll continue to maintain that strong bond. So for me, that's legacy. That's what makes me happy about what we have been able to do. I recall one experience that the current director was sharing with me. They went for a program in Ibadan, and this institution had given us the right to do everything except the catering. And they said, sorry, there is this fantastic caterer in Ibadan, and we cannot allow you to let's do every other thing but this one. And then she went and she said, if this person is so fantastic, I can bet you she's a member of EDC family. And they laughed about it. Lo and behold, on that day, as soon as this gay person wanted to introduce the caterer, he said, this is my people now. They hug and everything. The guy was weak. And for me, that's what legacy is all about. Yeah. You see your footprints everywhere, even where you don't look for them.
Yeah. So Uncle T, you've focused a lot on legacy, purpose, and things like that. So I'm going to hone in again into financial reward. So as staying the cause in corporate being financially rewarding for you. And I'll add one more question. For that professional who has been trying but is not adding up yet, what would you say to that person? And possibly also tell us, maybe, was there a time that you had a major break, or, it was just incremental?
Again, like I said, the simple answer will be yes, but it's not that straightforward as well. You need to plan for those things. 20 something years back or whatever, I actually sat down myself and my wife and I said, I will continue in corporate, you venture. Venture can go north or south, but we had what it takes to make it go north. And really, that was very helpful. It was one of the best decisions we took. Secondly, and once you've taken that out, you can be very creative, you can do multiple things, and a lot of things can happen. You also have to be very intentional. Today, people call it multiple streams of income. We have
Yeah.
passive, we have active. I have been I've been trading in stocks since I was 18 years in stocks. And to be quite honest with you, that in itself played a major role in stabilizing us financially. In fact, when we had to take facilities from the bank, we used those stocks to back them up and all the rest. Then at some point, you need to also stabilize by doing things that ordinarily will take money out of your pockets. Having your own apartment, no matter how small, will take a lot of pressure off you. Of course, there are depreciating assets like cars. You need to be mindful of your investment in those ones. These are practical things. I mean, I will not go and buy one expensive car. No, I will buy expensive business and invest all my money in that. In fact, at a point in my lifetime, and I used to record this, I was investing a minimum of 70% of my earning every month. 70%. That's what when I call it my investment years. And I did that for, I don't know, 4 or 5 years, 70%. So I was living only on 30% and low and below. So again, that's discipline. You cannot reap when you have not sowed. I see that today. Everybody, they say they want to blow. I don't know what blowing means very quickly, but you have to work hard. You have to invest. And that's the reality. And so when you begin, when people see you do X, Y, Z, it's because they didn't know that you had done ABC before. So I try to
Yeah.
show them the ABC. And they're like, what? You went through this? You did this? I said there was a time I used to have a car that when it starts raining, that's when I start praying because that car may never start. So if you now see me in a car that is swimming or something, you say, oh, it's because you don't know the ABC. That's all.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing you say is, as we build our corporate careers, as we stay long in corporate, we should also apply financial intelligence.
Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
my takeaway.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
Okay. Yeah. So there's a lot of anxiety, Uncle T, around AI. People are anxious. Professionals are not sure what the future holds. Should we be worried?
Okay. Yes and no. Yes, because it's something new, and but you have to be prepared. You recall
Mm.
when we started doing computerization, automation, it's the same thing. People have to be wary about it. But you can program yourself, you can develop yourself, you can repurpose yourself. That way, there is no need to be afraid. AI, I think, is the most exciting thing that has happened to us. We may not know. I was doing some work a few years ago, and we had to do machine learning, blah blah blah. We had to mark like 200,000 applications, and human beings had to mark them. Once we did machine learning and all of that, we trained the bot to pick some things, mark it accordingly. We also do double checking. The bot could mark 200,000 down to 2,000 in less than 30 minutes. And that gave
No,
us,
no doubt.
it gave us speed, it gave us advantage, but you have to learn it. I was just coming back from a congress this week, and I was shocked when somebody composed a music for the program we went and using AI. And it was so
Wow.
fantastic. I'm
Wow.
like, this is now we are getting there. My daughter, she does, and when she wanted to do a brochure and everything, this issue of using human faces and all of that, she just described the character and everything. She created the type of person that she wanted, wearing her piece and everything. I'm like, now we are moving there. So it depends on what you want to use AI to do. For sure, AI is going nowhere, and we too we are going nowhere. So the earlier we
Mm.
start handshaking, the better. Most organizations are leveraging on it today. And the truth is that it's here to stay. We just have to make it work together. That's all.
Yes.
I mean, it's
So
an
what
exciting thing.
would
If I'm just doing my mech engine today, that is one area that I will specialize on because it's an exciting layer.
yeah. So I mean, I'm also quite excited about AI. And so what I hear you say is we shouldn't be worried really. But what should we be doing to ensure that we remain relevant in this AI world? What should professionals be doing right now?
Okay, let me say again that we should be worried as well. So it's not that we shouldn't be worried. We should be worried
Okay.
because there are some emerging traits or bad thing that is happening now. Like I'm speaking to you now, I could capture your face, your voice, and everything, and I can replicate that, and I can show
Yeah.
somebody, and it will be like you, talking like you, with your mannerism and everything, and then somebody will believe me. But that is the AI world, and so we have to be more.
So it comes with
Have to be more
its
careful.
threats and its risks.
Of course, that is there. And then people that are also very good in coding and all of that, they could do things that can wipe off many things. I mean, the bad side will always be there. But the good thing is like as those bad sides are coming up, the good sides are also developing. That's why you have virus and antivirus. So it's a whole new world that will emerge.
Yeah, exciting times ahead. So, I have personally been privileged to experience or get a glimpse into your work ethics, which is characterized by things such as, late night. I don't know if that still happens now, early mornings, a lot of focus on what you're doing. Would you still say that that kind of ethic is still relevant today in this world where, people just want instant gratification?
Absolutely, yes. It's always good to put your mind, your heart into whatever you are doing. If that means sometimes working late, working hard, it's important to do that. However, you must also program wellness into whatever you do. Uh, Today, I will tell you that work doesn't kill. I tell my people work doesn't kill, but you must also have as part of your program, your agenda, enough time to relax, enough time to sleep, go to the spa, go to the spa. I mean, when I go on conference and everything, they know me now. I must set aside. I just go and do massage or something like that. These are things that improves your own wellness. Go on holiday. I don't play with my holiday. Just take time out. And then sometimes plan to do nothing. If people think that, but it's good.
Yeah.
Some days I say, I'm not going out anywhere. All I just want to do is just lazy about. That's a good plan. So long as that's what you have planned. So no phone calls, no this, no nothing. At best, you can watch TV if you want. If not, just chill, just lounge. And that's it with the family, with everybody, go for dinner. I mean, I try to go out with the family at dinner, any opportunity that I have, we have. We either go out or we try to do something together. We go visit friends, all kinds of things. These are the things that helps your mind to reset. It can be tough when you are in the corporate world. So you have to be mindful.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing you say is that work ethic that you have is still relevant, but it's important that professionals balance it with self care that looks after their physical, mental, and emotional well being. Thank you for
Correct.
that. That's yeah. It's actually one of the areas that I am advocating right now. I'm advocating regenerative leadership, which focuses a lot on wholeness, clarity, rest, seeing rest as part of the job, actually.
Yes, it is. It is.
Right. So we are slowly getting to the end of our session today, and it's been extremely insightful. And I believe that professionals in their early, mid, and even already accomplished people will find a lot of nuggets in the discussions that we have had today. But before you go, Uncle T, when people look back at your career beyond titles and all the roles that you have held, what would you hope that people remember you for?
Maybe just a family man. That's all. Every other
Really?
thing may be, yeah, not just a family man. And I recall that this is one point that I make very clear. Family is where you will come back to. Family is your starting and your end point. So don't let your career take you away from the family. Even when I'm traveling across the world, when my children were in school, I would take time, one day off, to go and see them at school. Stay, take them out, have lunch, go shopping. That's family. When I have a conference or something like that, maybe towards the end, I can ask my wife, can you join me? Because weekend to get away. That's family. And that rejuvenates you. It rejuvenates you to be able to do even more. And then one thing that we took as a family decision is that Christmas, New Year is only for family. It's only for us, unfortunately. And we either cut everybody out or you jump into it. So it was my wife that started this anyway. So credit to her on that. We will take off to anywhere, into Hong Kong, Australia, anywhere. So long as it is us that we are together, the whole world can go to anywhere they want to go. And that's all I want to be remembered for. If my son needs my help, I'm ready to sit down and we sit down, we just talk. So beyond the title, beyond the this, beyond the that, those things don't matter. But when my daughter say, I want to cook for you today, or can you come and help me? That is what matters in life at the end of the day, of course.
I fully agree with you, Uncle T. Family is everything. So, on a final note, what one piece of advice would you like to leave with a mid-career professional who is looking to find clarity, courage, and direction?
I would say start by looking for what you love to do, that you will do it without being paid for. That's usually the pointer. The second thing is that once you found that, it means that even when things are not going well, you will still be happy doing that thing. Then that is the first. My wife, for instance, after all the kids have graduated, everybody's working, blah blah blah. She suddenly told me that, I love mental health program. I like to help people to do this. Today, she's back in school studying mental health. She's happy about it. It's something that she will do. It's something that will keep her. So at any point in time, purpose becomes the real transition. And so long as you are finding that purpose, you are very, very.
Yeah. So we are now finally at the end of our session. They say time flies when you're having fun, and time has really flown. And it was so, so, so insightful. I learned so much and I thoroughly enjoyed every bit of our conversation. I'm so sure that every professional that listens to the conversation that we've had today will find it very insightful and find a lot of value in it. So I want to thank you so much, Uncle T, for appearing or featuring on the very first edition of Career Pathways with Adeola Kagho. Thank you so much and enjoy the rest of your evening. Bye bye.
Thank you so much and all the best.
Thank you.